All right, we're about to have some fun, and we're going to discuss who we believe currently is the best team in the National Football League that did not make the playoffs last year. And my vote is going to the Dallas Cowboys. Surprise! Locked on NFL is next.
The barbershop is open, and Tony Wiggins has a chair for you. He's ready with some real NFL talk. The local experts of Locked On bring their expertise, and Wiggy is ready with his clippers and shears. Sit down and enjoy. The new Locked On NFL starts now. Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Well, it's a happy Monday to you. It should be happy because this is the first time in 2 weeks that you see me and Julian Council here together. And welcome to Locked On NFL. I am Tony Wiggins, the host of the Locked On NFL podcast, PM version that comes on in the afternoon. Of course, Tyler Rowland starts us off in the morning. The madman does. And as usual on Monday, my guest is Locked On Carolina Panthers host, Locked On Panthers host, Julian Council. And we're going to run down this show in just a minute. But first, I got to let you know that we're free to subscribe wherever you get your podcast. Make sure if you watch or listen, you tap into that location each and every day so you do not miss an episode of Locked On NFL. Here's where we're going to go. We're going to talk about the usual suspects. If you made me pick two teams, one from each conference that will make it to the conference championship game, right now I got to make the pick. Well, I'm going to be Captain Obvious, and I'm going to do just that and make that pick for you. But we'll discuss that and possibly why one of those teams maybe shouldn't even be considered a team that's favored to make it to the championship. In the middle of the show, the biggest rising teams in 2025. Doesn't mean the teams that are going to be the best team in 2025 that wasn't very good last year, because that goes to Dallas, as we already said. But it's the team that might get the most because of the division they're in, or because they'll just be better. The record might not indicate it, but they'll be better. But let's start the show off talking about the Dallas Cowboys. Julian Council, it was not hard for me to come up with this. I think the Dallas Cowboys on paper is the best team right now that did not make the playoffs in 2024.
Okay, I can see it. Dak Prescott gets injured. Dallas continually always has some strong defensive players, and if a healthy Dak comes back, which will be the case this season, even with the head coaching change there, Brian Schottenheimer, that they should be a team right back there in contention. But I would disagree, because I do think that Cincinnati is a team that did not make it last year that is better than Dallas. And the big question with the Bengals is, can they stop anybody? And also, what's going on with Trey Hendrickson, man? Because, I know he's not happy, apparently. There's a war of words going on there. He came out a couple of weeks ago talking about why he's not going to show up to work. And until they figure things out and replay that relationship, he's not going to be out there. And I don't really know how Cincinnati has any sort of leg to stand on here when it comes to their defense and not paying their best defensive player. He's had 34 sacks last 2 seasons. That's insane, y'all. So I look at them with Joe Burrow, getting back T. Higgins and Jamar Chase, which is huge for them. Offensively, they have the firepower. It's just, can they stop somebody? So I know they got a tough division too, but I think Cincinnati, if everybody is right and they get just a little bit better defensively, they are the best team that didn't make the playoffs last year.
That's a great point. And that conference was considered stronger. And they were the team that actually a whole bunch of people that did make the playoffs are hoping they didn't get in, because they were that one team that would kind of, regardless of how they're structured, they would cause a lot of problems. But I chose Dallas for a reason, because I give Dallas a lot of grief about what they normally do or don't do. They've done it. They have really, really focused and paid attention to the trenches. Listen to the guys from Locked On Cowboys talk about who the coach said might be one of the most improved players.
Brian Schottenheimer held a press conference before practice, and one player that he went out of his way to praise was Tyler Guyton, the Cowboys' second-year left tackle. Here's some quotes on Guyton. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Tyler Guyton. He's having a terrific offseason. He's working his butt off. He looks fantastic. He's having a great offseason. I think some of the new things that Clayton Adams and Connor Riley have brought really fit him. He has not missed a day. He's one of the first guys back in the building. He understands how important this year is to him.
It kind of went from, us just having this big unknown at left tackle. It's such an important position, especially with the emphasis put on the offensive line, for us just not know what the deal is with Tyler Guyton, to kind of getting all this flood of kind of positive reinforcement that Tyler, yes, really did have a really great offseason.
I like this for Dallas, and they have really, really invested in their trenches, and they have always been a team. Rob Frederick was on his way to being a Hall of Famer, to go along with Zach Martin and Tyron Smith. They have always been a team going back to Hudson Houck that was able to dominate in a Jeff Stoutland Philadelphia Eagles type of way. If they can get Guyton, last year's first round pick, I think he got chosen the first, or even, yeah. And they went and drafted Tyler Booker with a top 15 pick this year. That was a very Dallas Cowboys selection. I got to give them credit. I always say they go for the big, trendy popcorn muscles things, but they actually make very, very sound football decisions to go and beef up that offensive line. And I really do believe it's going to do wonders for their offense.
Yeah, I think that's always been that organization, that they want to be strong in the trenches, and they're kind of caught in between generations, so to speak, with the offensive line, because you bring up Tyron Smith and he's no longer there. Zach Martin retires this offseason. So they got Tyler Booker, who they just drafted from Alabama, who I believe in the pre-draft process said that he wants people to want to quit playing football after going up against him, which, yeah. That's kind of it, ain't it? I'm looking for if I'm any football team. Like, that's the guy. Hey, there's no concern about whether that guy loves the game. He might even love the game as much as he loves making people want to quit and just dominating them. So I think offensive line wise, like, they're going to be in a good spot moving forward. And I kind of look at New Orleans, where they had guys like Teron Armstead and Ryan Ramczyk, who both have left recently, whether it's been retiring or going to other teams, and they've had some struggles in trying to replace some of their guys up front. Where Dallas, they've done a pretty good job in some of the picks that they've made and hitting on them, where New Orleans is not hitting on their draft picks. And that can just be kind of the difference between possibly being the number one overall pick after this upcoming season and being right back in playoff contention, provided that your quarterback, Dak Prescott, stays healthy this upcoming year. So, yeah, I mean, you know me, like Dallas, I'll laugh at them like the rest of the people. I'm only 32, so I sit here and I shake my head like, why are the Cowboys always getting shoved down my throat for never doing anything? Especially when I'm in a city with the Panthers. I mean, they've gone to the NFC title game of the Super Bowl more times than Dallas has over the last 30-something years. So, but I get it. When Dak's healthy, and just like Jerry does a decent job. Like, it's not like he's a complete train wreck of an owner. He just is out there just saying too much and doing too much a lot of times, but they do know how to build sound football teams. And I do think that always starts up front, and they're doing that again. So yeah, as long as Dak stays healthy, which is going to always be my caveat here with Dallas Cowboys, they'll be right there in contention in what is an NFC East where, if you won last year, you ain't going to win next year.
I'm glad you said that, because Captain Obvious in me has the Eagles in that third segment, where I think they're going to be a team that gets the championship. I don't know if they're going to get there as the division winner, because you have educated me and told me that doesn't happen. But guess who has the inside track? It ain't Dallas. Everybody thinking about Dallas, and maybe they're going to knock Philly off. Listen to David Harrison.
Jaden Daniels looked like the best player on the field during Wednesday's OTA session, decisive, confident, and clearly in control of the offense. Now, to be fair to the rest of the roster, the quarterback's really the only one that really gets to showcase everything that he can do, right? Because you don't want your quarterback to hit people. You don't want your quarterback to get hit. You don't necessarily need to see Jaden Daniels throwing or running the football, but you do want to see his arm. You do want to see the command of the offense, and you do love hearing from his coaches how much command he's taking of the offense. So,
all right, Julian Council, I got about 1 minute. I want you to tell me yay or nay on Washington. Are we falling in love too fast, or what we saw last year, it is what it is?
Yeah, we're falling in love too fast. That defense was not really that great, and I do think that they had a nice little run there in the playoffs, and we see sometimes those sophomore slumps. CJ Stroud, he was awesome a couple years ago. Last year was still good, but didn't kind of take that leap that we were expecting. So still a tough division, and they're going to be playing with a second place schedule for whatever that's worth. I'm not there yet. I think they're going to be fine, but I just need to see. I just got to see it again. Like, I'm not going to sit here and go out on a limb on Washington being like that NFC championship contender yet again, like they were last year, I suppose.
No doubt about that. We got some teams on the radar for biggest risers, teams that means whether it's record wise will have a lot more success this year than they did last year and be thought of differently. Denver Broncos are one of them. I'll tell the other one in just a second here on Locked On NFL. All right, today's show is brought to you and sponsored by LinkedIn Talent Solutions. That's right, man. As a small business owner, and I've done it 3 times, your work doesn't end when the clock hits 5. Your business is always on your mind, which means when it's time to hire, you need a partner that works just as hard as you do. That's where LinkedIn Jobs comes in. When you clock out, LinkedIn clocks in. LinkedIn makes it easy to post your job for free, share it with your network, and get qualified candidates all in one place. Post your job. LinkedIn's new feature can help you write job descriptions and then quickly get your job in front of the right people with deep candidate insights. And here's a pro tip: add the hashtag hiring frame to your profile picture to double your reach to qualified candidates. That's the hashtag hiring frame. No wonder 72% of small businesses say LinkedIn helps them find high energy hires. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedonnfl. That's linkedin.com/lockedonnfl to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. All right, Julian, I'm running along here on Locked On NFL with my man Julian Council of Locked On Panthers. I got to get to these teams that I think are going to have some success. I have to explain this. It's either going to be record-wise or in our conscience. At this time last year, I said the Denver Broncos was one of the worst teams that I'd ever seen, and that quarterback was going to get Sean Payton fired. I look like a fool, and I have admitted it now for the 179th time that I was wrong about Denver. Well, I won't be wrong again. I think Denver is going to make some noise and shake up some things because of their brand of football in the AFC. Listen to the guys from Locked On Broncos.
Sean Payton doesn't look any bit stressed there. And look, I think even last year with how in the offseason, the outlook there of trying to navigate what was the Russell Wilson situation. Okay, we moved on from him. You take on the massive dead cap. The Broncos acknowledged it after the regular season with George Payton that, we knew we had to embrace having a young roster this upcoming, this season in 2024. And then now now we're in a place where we're flexible.
All right, Julian, I asked you about Washington. Was I falling too quickly? Am I falling victim to the fact that I'm overcompensating because I was rude to the Broncos last year? Am I doing too much, or do you expect Denver to make a little bit of a move?
No, I don't think you're doing too much. Like, Bo Nix was awesome last year. And I was right there with you. I appreciated the career that Bo Nix had at Auburn. Things not working out for him, going to Eugene at Oregon and turn things around to be a first-round pick. Like, bravo to Bo. Did not think he was going to go to Denver and play as well as he played last year and get that team to the playoffs. Now, I mean, they got mopped, obviously, by Buffalo, but still, like, that's a big accomplishment for Sean Payton in year 2 with that rookie quarterback. And again, like they mentioned, a young roster to be where they are. But I don't know about Sean Payton not being stressed, because he should be stressed the hell out right now because they're in the AFC West.
Yeah, man, they got some smoke. There's some smoke out there.
That's the problem here. Like, they're in the AFC West. There's obviously Kansas City, and you're not going to win a division because Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs are still around. Andy Reid still coaching that football team, right? Steve Spagnuolo is still calling plays defensively. They still have Chris Jones. They're going to be the best team in the AFC West. And I know that it was an embarrassment from Justin Herbert and the Chargers in that playoff game, but they're not going to get worse this upcoming year.
Sure not.
Los Angeles isn't. And I do think that Jim Harbaugh, honestly, I think he's a better coach than Sean Payton. Might not have that Super Bowl, but the man's got range. He's done it on both levels. So I think that he's going to have that team in as more of an image, especially with getting Marion Hampton for North Carolina. So that run game should really take a step forward this upcoming season. So, yeah, I think Denver, they're right there.
And they got more credibility in Las Vegas now.
Yeah, true.
He's done it before.
So, and like, I'm not looking at the Raiders necessarily as like a threat, but like, Geno, he's going to be a lot better than what they've had in recent years. And like, they're going to have certain identity that they haven't had, but like, it's going to kind of be, I looked at Denver last year because they get in as a 7 seed. They kind of took Cincinnati's spot. So if Cincinnati can figure some things out, then maybe they're right there taking over that spot. And then, I mean, Pittsburgh right now, they don't have a quarterback, so I can't really talk about them being a playoff team at this point in time. I know they're not going to lose more than 8 games because it's Mike Tomlin. But yeah, Denver, solid team. It's just like, it's going to be a battle in the AFC as it always is. So, and just being in that neighborhood, that a high HOA, it's tough out here.
Yeah, man. I was just sitting there thinking about Pittsburgh, and I'm going to get to the NFC in just a second, but I'm almost to the point. Give me 15 seconds on this in your response. They'd be better off going and trading for Kirk Cousins, dog, than messing around with that dude, Ayahuasca Rogers or whatever his name is.
I don't really understand why we haven't already done this. And I'm not saying we as a Steelers, like, why they haven't done that.
Speaking of Kirk Cousins, I think the Atlanta Falcons are going to find more success this year than they did last year.
Okay.
I mean, way more success. They might challenge Tampa to win that division. Listen to my man. Listen to Aaron Freeman. I'm laughing because I know Julian is sitting there like, what is he talking about? Listen to Julian. Listen to Aaron Freeman from Locked On Falcons.
So Kyle Pitts is a necessary component of this Falcons offense because we just look back through that 6 week span from week 5 to week 10, where the Falcons were tied for the second most explosive plays in the NFL during that 6-game stretch behind Baltimore. They were tied with Washington in second place, generating 30 explosive plays over those 6 weeks. And that was also, not coincidentally, the best stretch of the season from a record standpoint, and their best stretch of the season when it came to scoring points, right? Those two things are related. Like the more points you score, the more chances, the higher your probability of winning games, especially when you're dealing with the Atlanta Falcons defense, because Lord knows we are not winning 17, 14 games like that. But it's not a coincidence that during that 6-game stretch, that was also the stretch of games where Kyle Pitts was also most involved in the offense. He accounted for 17% of those explosive plays that they had during that stretch. The rest of the season, it was 5% of the Falcons' explosive plays, right? You also look at how many targets he was getting during that stretch of the season. 15.8% of the Falcons' passing attempts went to Kyle Pitts. The rest of the year, that was 11.7%.
All right, listen, I need to see 4 things from the Falcons. I need to see 4 things that I haven't seen. I need to see them actually not be one of the worst teams at sacking the quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
I need to see what Michael Penix looks like without that do-rag. I need Kyle Pitts to finally be as good as everybody told me he was going to be, Gator fans that told me when he was in college, he was one of the 5 best tight ends in the world. And I need Bijan Robinson to be on the field more for a guy that was picked number 7 overall. And I need him to start turning into Jonathan Taylor or somebody like that. There you go.
Yeah, I talked to Aaron last week, doing a little vibe check across the NFC South, try to get everybody's opinions of their team's off seasons, and he didn't have a high opinion at all of Atlanta's off season, and that was certainly eye-opening for me, as he told me the biggest free agent addition that they made was Divine Diablo. And I'm sure plenty of you have no idea who I am talking about. So when that, in his opinion, is the biggest free agency move they made, that is concerning. Of course, they're paying Kirk Cousins a ton of money, and Aaron is of the belief that Kirk is going to be there all year long, which, Lord have mercy, that just can't, I don't know how it works. Maybe it
long
works
way
for
from
him.
wearing them gold chains and that grill and dancing on the sideline on Monday night, isn't he?
Well, he's got plenty of time to be at Magic City, wherever he wants to be at with the chains and all that, because he ain't gonna be playing football, and he sure as hell ain't showing up to work right now. So I understand, but I'm interested to see what Jalen Walker and James Pierce are able to do there as rookies, because I was shocked, because he was telling me, like, the last 20 years they've been just terrible pass rush, and I just don't understand how
they've
they
been the worst. Last 5, 10, 15, and 20, they have been the worst team sacking a quarterback.
I mean, they've gotten to the playoffs and won division championships, and without a pass rush is just crazy to me. So we'll see. Like Atlanta, I mean, it's just hard to take them seriously at this point in time. Like, I like what they did last offseason, getting Kirk Cousins, the money they gave him. Like, I mean, that's kind of the price of doing business with a quarterback, especially a quarterback like him, where he's going to take every single penny right up front, and he's not going to even sit here and talk about, what might not be guaranteed. But I look at it, okay, Michael Penix Jr., good player. I want to see what he can do this upcoming year. They got weapons offensively, but it's just going to come down to, like, can Raheem Morris get that defense right? And is he going to get –
that's another part of it. When I think about Raheem, I'm thinking, like, that's solid. It's solid. But it doesn't do anything for me. It's like Raheem is like some real good mashed potatoes. I mean, it's like, all right, yeah. But the thing is, and now I'm sounding like I don't think they're going to be good. I actually do think they're going to be good. It's just that I just can't really put my finger on what's missing. And that's part of the reason that I think, okay, it's a whole lot of 6.5s and 7s across that roster in that division. No pun intended for the Panthers, because I do think they improved a lot. But I'm still sitting there looking at the Saints, and that's 2 easy wins, in my opinion, even though I gave them some credit last week. I think the division has a whole bunch to do with it.
Yeah, for me personally, anytime I ever hear anyone be like the schedule, that just tells me you don't really think that team's any good.
Yeah.
Like if the schedule is like one of the first things you're talking about, because you're right here, you're trying to figure out what it is, and you're like the schedule is like, well, then you don't really think they're that good.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Like Aaron, from what he said to me last week, that has me not believing in Atlanta, which, I'm already not going to believe in the Falcons anyway. But when he sits there and tells me that, yeah, they were pretty complacent. They really do a lot of things this offseason. Sounds like trouble to me.
Yeah, especially from Aaron, because Aaron is usually kind of positive when it comes to stuff. It's easy to be positive when when you're the rabbit and you got the gun, and when you're on top. The conversations in Philly, in Baltimore, they got a little stress on them too, because they got a hump to get over. But the conversations in places like Philadelphia and Kansas City, if you ain't used to winning, you ain't used to people covering their team and just talking about the stuff that they just talk about. I'll show you in just a second here on Locked On NFL. All right, the usual suspects. I gave you some surprises in the first two segments about teams that I thought may do something different. Now I'm going to talk about two teams that are going to do exactly what you think they're going to do. That's the Kansas City Chiefs. They're going to also get back their best offensive player, not named Patrick Mahomes. Listen to this.
I don't think there's any stopping Rashee Rice.
It's going to be a lot of fun to see him back in this offense, and then to watch what he's able to do with all the other offensive pieces around him. I mean, that's the fun part of you get into OTAs and the coaches get a chance to actually see, okay, what's this look like when we have all three of these players on the field at the same time with spacing? And how do they look together running these different routes and this different combination and trying this different specific play? Because this is when you start throwing plays into the book for training camp.
He's a good player, but I do think there's something that can stop himself. Because anybody that drives fast on a highway in the middle of a city and then walks away from an accident ain't too damn smart. So, but football-wise, hell of an addition to get back for the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah, man, it's true. I was driving up there in the Metroplex last year, and I'm like, dang, man, I don't know how people drive in this city. So to be driving like he was, that's just craziness to me. But, yeah, I'll be interested to see what Rashee Rice looks like, because, I mean, typically you come off of that injury, and he tore a couple ligaments in that knee. You're not right that first year. It's usually the year after that. It would be next fall in 2026 where you'd expect him to get back to who he was, and maybe even better than he was as a rookie a year ago. So that's the thing I'm very curious to see. Obviously Kansas City with Mahomes, they're going to figure things out. They're not going to have any sort of issues as far as whether they can score the football. Even when last year they were getting away with a lot of things, they still found a way, because that's what kind of championship teams are able to do. So I expect KC to be up there. It's kind of one of those things where, look, the division's at least gotten tougher, because I know you look back at those Tom Brady, Bill Belichick, Patriot teams, like the Jets were trash, the Dolphins were lost, the Bills were absolute garbage. And now you look at this division has gotten better, because Jim Harbaugh is over there in LA. Justin Herbert, good player. Solid roster building going on there. You got Pete Carroll down there in Las Vegas. We'll see whether that gets done or not. I mean, Mark Davis owns the team, so probably not. And then you look over in Denver, like Sean Payton, Super Bowl winning head coach. You already got your Bo Nix playing well. But general manager George Payton building a good roster. So a lot tougher for Kansas City than I think it ever was for New England. So they'll be pushed, but I don't think those other teams have done enough. And it's just you got to build such a perfect roster at this point in time to overcome that guy. Because you look at Philadelphia, like their roster, damn near perfect. And then Jalen Hurts is a dude too. Well, I mean, he's not. And this is all respect to, Jalen, because I love the man. Well, he's not Mahomes, but you got to see how perfect a roster you have to build to be able to overcome that. And over the course of a 17-game season, it's a lot different than just one Sunday. So we'll see. But I think, Kansas City, no reason not to believe that they're going to be right back there, 8th straight year in the AFC Championship game, which is just crazy.
It's crazy, man. Philly, you mentioned them, and of course I alluded to them a little bit earlier. I don't know if y'all know, Lou DiBiase does Locked On. He's been on an epic run lately, and he's always done a good job. But I'm going to tell you, the other day he said Lane Johnson might be, when me and Ross did the show Friday, Ross was rolling. He said Lane Johnson is probably maybe the greatest tackle in the NFL history.
That's crazy.
I'm sitting there thinking, like, I love it, man. And when you win, and Louis meant every word of it.
I know he did.
Yeah, he meant every word of this too. He's on an epic run, and I gotta include him as many days as I can because this is how rich people talk, and this is the thing. While we're worried about Travis Hunter and whether he's gonna play offense or defense and all of this stuff in Jacksonville, look at what he's talking about.
It was a historic season. It was, I think, again, the greatest season a running back has ever had, and for him to do that in the modern day NFL in 2024 is unbelievable. Saquon Barkley, kind of like A.J. Brown, I think if you give him, when you add a couple more dominant seasons on top of a historic 2024, when you talk about GOAT week, that literally was the GOAT season at his position. If he has another, 15 plus 100-yard season this year and the Eagles are competing for a Super Bowl and then he does it again in 2026, 2027, if he's catching the ball more this year, if he stays healthy and he, is really worth that new contract extension, I think like A.J. Brown, Saquon Barkley will eventually jump a legend in Eagles history. But after just 1 year, despite it being the year for the running back, the ring for the Eagles, I can't yet put him ahead of LaShawn McCoy.
Oh, I can. I'll put him ahead of LaShawn McCoy. I damn sure will. But we're going to get to this. We already said the Eagles are good, and the Eagles are sitting there waiting. Eric Dickerson ran for like 2,100 yards 1 year. And I think another year, didn't LaDainian Tomlinson have 1,600 yards rushing and like 100 yards receiving? 100 catches.
Something crazy.
Yeah. So, look, Saquon, great job. They won the Super Bowl. He was the best player on the Super Bowl team. I don't think he's the greatest. I don't think that is the greatest year for a running back in NFL history. I just don't.
Yeah, I still want some respect as far as Philly backs go for Brian Westbrook. He wasn't shady or Saquon. Look, we've seen, I think there's been 3 years we've had guys who've had 1,000 seasons as far as 1,000 yards receiving, 1,000 yards rushing. Christian McCaffrey, the last one to do it back in 2019 for a bad Panthers team. Roger Craig, who should be in the Hall of Fame, he did it. And then Marshall Faulk. So I just feel like I think Marshall Faulk probably had better seasons, like Terrell Davis, he's in the Hall of Fame because of his exploits in the playoffs and those back-to-back Super Bowl runs there for Denver. But Saquon's awesome. And it was happy to finally be healthy. And that's the thing, like in New York, like he just couldn't stay healthy. It's not like anyone questioned whether Saquon was good. And then with that position, he was in the midst of like them devaluing running backs. And all of a sudden, look at last offseason, they're all getting paid again. And Saquon's going out there and doing his thing to where, the running back is back. And we saw this draft class, a lot of dudes who they took Ashton. Genty went, what was it, 5th overall, 6th overall, went in the top 10. And Hampton went later on that Thursday night. So, Philly, they're gonna be fine again with Saquon. I guess a part of you might be thinking in the back of your head, is he gonna be able to stay healthy again, or are we gonna have kind of the same issues that he had in New York? Are the good times gonna continue to roll? Especially, I think they reworked that deal or whatever this offseason, which, hey, get your money, Saquon. But yeah, man, Philly, that'd be good.
You don't have any pushback on you have to choose one as a usual suspect by me choosing KC and Philly. It's kind of obvious.
Yeah, I would push back a little bit on Philadelphia because of like just the recent history in that division where like back-to-back champs, you don't win your division pretty hard to get to the Super Bowl. It's not impossible, as we know, but it makes it a lot more difficult. So I'm just going to go ahead and guess they're not going to win the NFC East. And then like they lost some good pieces defensively. Like that's the thing that happens, that you always end up, because Philly, like they lose coaches every year, it feels like. They lose players because they're always so good, and everyone wants to kind of get somebody else or get that brain or whatever. I don't even know what I'm trying to say. Get the talent away from them to help them out. I really like LA, the Rams. That is, I think the
NFC as a whole, man. We were last year. Everybody was just talking about 2 teams. Well, really, they were talking about the Detroit Lions, and they were talking about all these teams in the AFC now. I think that's flipping. I really do. And I'm going to do Locked On NFL tomorrow. It's going to be about that. It's going to be about who has the stronger conference.
Yeah.
I think the NFC has really, really flipped that, and they've caught up. And a lot of it has to do, of course, with Jaden Daniels becoming that alpha quarterback that he is. And then Detroit doing it multiple years in a row and then actually doing it while they were banged up last year. Now they're going to get healthy. And then McVay just being the Andy Reid of the NFC, man. I mean, we'll talk about that tomorrow. But make sure you guys tap into Locked On NFL Scouting. They do a real good job, does Kyle Krabs and Joe Marino, and it makes you a smarter fan. So make sure you have a lot of reasons now with these mini camps to tap in and find out more about the rosters of your favorite teams or your rivals. Make sure you also tap into Locked On Panthers with Julian Council and Locked On Jaguars with myself. And of course, Tyler Rowland will be back early in the morning with Locked On NFL in the morning. All right, for Julian Council, for Tony Wiggins, we thank you for spending 30 minutes with us today. We appreciate you. We'll see you next time here on Locked On NFL.